Hello everyone, it's Big Baby Blue Eyes, and I just want to talk a bit about why I think Pokemon is going to fail on the Switch, or at the very least, not sell very well. If we look at the Pokemon games, they kind of run on one basic premise. You can take it anywhere, and you can trade with your friends. Free multiplayer, you can trade whatever. It's all fun. Nintendo has recently-ish, about to start the Switch, maybe a bit of the Wii U, they started pushing this Nintendo Online crap, where you have to pay to use your own internet, you know? Every console does this, and it's kind of weird Nintendo didn't. So, now, if we're gonna go by what's happening, in a new Pokemon game, you're gonna have to pay an additional amount to trade your Pokemon over the internet, unless you happen to have a friend close by with a Switch or whatever. Here's where I think the problem lies with Pokemon on the Switch. People still think of it as essentially a home console, not quite as a handheld for a single person to use. I imagine most of the middle-class families that do pick up a Switch are going to pick it up and treat it like the new Wii or the Wii U or whatever, because it hooks up to the TV and that's how they're going to look at it. Also, it's $300. That's a lot of money to drop per kid. Let's look at the handhelds. They all kind of float around the $120 to $170, $180-ish range. Now that's a lot, especially if you're buying one for each kid. However, we can also look at prices of games. 3DS games, from what I can tell, tend to release around $40 to $50. Games on the Switch, like the mainstream, I believe Smash Bros. Launched at $60, full $60 game. We'll assume Pokemon launches at, say, $45, give it a fair shot. If the parent wants to buy the copy of Pokemon for their kid, Pokemon version A for their kid, right? So they drop $300 on the Switch and $45 on the game. $345 for one kid. That's a lot. That's a lot. The only other alternative is if you have several parents buying a console for each kid. If you look at the install base, and I know the 3DS install base is kind of artificially inflated because of all the different models of the 3DS, but the 3DS has an install base of something like 6 million, or is it 60 million? It has a very high install base compared to the Switch, which has a 5 million install base. That, I think, coupled with the sheer price, is going to deter a lot of people from even bothering to get the new Pokemon games. And honestly, I kind of hope they fail. I kind of hope Game Freak's like, hey, you know, we can't just, you know, simplify everything and then people are going to buy it. Like, look at Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Those games don't sell very well. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Pokemon games are always going to sell, quote-unquote, well. But I feel like there's been a steady downturn. Like, X and Y managed to grow on me. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, I was down for. Sun and Moon, I think, changed a little too much, but I think it can work. When you move it to the Switch, though, like I said, very few families are going to be buying more than one Switch for their household. It's like, why am I going to drop $300 so I can have another Switch in my kid's room or whatever, you know? Sure, some families will do it, but you don't want to bank on the minority to sell your product. We see companies do this, they pander to people who don't even buy their game, and what do you know, their game starts doing worse because they alienated their core audience, and they started pandering to people who don't even, you know, buy the game. I think with the new Pokemon games, what's going to happen is they're going to release it with a lot of fanfare. It'll be like, oh, guys, look, here's a new Pokemon, yay! It'll be a couple months of theories and speculation and whatnot, and then kind of fizzles on launch, I believe. Sure, it's going to sell. People are going to pick it up just because it's Pokemon, but it's not going to sell the same way other Pokemon games did. Or have, or will, because of the way the console works and how the previous generation of people who are buying Switches look at it. Alright? How many people do you know with multiple Xbox Ones? Hell, even multiple Xbox 360s at this point. Xbox 360 is a bit different because it's like $100 now. But that's the point. You can just drop, say, you know, if you're relatively well off, you can just drop $100 on an Xbox 360 and put one in your room. It doesn't break the bank. Are you going to drop $300 so you can have another Xbox One? And this isn't like adult buys a console and then kid works up the money to buy one. It's too expensive. we're looking at $345 to, honestly, closer to $360. So one kid can have a Pokemon game and a Nintendo Switch. That's insane. If we look at all the other ones, is supposing you had, 3 kids, right, and each one wanted a copy of a Pokemon game and a handheld for Christmas. At most, you're looking at like $200 per kid. It's expensive, because that works up to $600, but it's not absurd. It's doable, Even if you're a poorer family, like, well, we're going to save up for the entire year. We're going to put away, $100 a month or whatever. I know that's kind of, that's kind of crazy, but you know what I mean. Not all families can do that. And I understand there's always going to be the poorest family who's like, I can't even afford a single 3DS for my kids to share. That's something else. Pokemon is a single save file system. So supposing even if you buy one Pokemon game and one Switch and you got multiple kids, well, a bunch of kids are going to get screwed out being able to play it because only one save file is available on it. So either those kids are going to have to get really good at sharing one save file with a bunch of events that can't be repeated, or you're going to have to work out, hey, maybe buy multiple games. But even then, it kind of misses the point of Pokemon, because you can't play, 2 Switch games on one Switch. What they should go for, I think, is stay on the 3DS, or, and this leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, makes me disgusted to say it, move over to phones. Like, if they could bring a core Pokemon game onto my phone, I'd play it. Most people have phones, because phones provide an external use. That's why a lot of consoles like the PS2 sold so well, because people were buying them to be DVD players. PlayStation 1 sold because it was a CD player. Stuff like that. The PS3 sold because it was a Blu-ray player, If you buy, it's always going to come back to money. And I think the market share for people who can afford more than one Switch and more than one copy of Pokemon is kind of slim. You're looking at 18 to 20 year olds. Well, not 18 to 20, 18 to 30, we'll say. We say that's the core age range for Pokemon people who are buying the game. Alright, 18 to 45. We'll say that. 18 to 45. How many 18 to 45 year olds do you know can just drop $300 on a Switch? Now, maybe it's just me. Not a lot of my friends actually play Nintendo games, really. They'll bust out the N64 at a party or whatever. But for the most part, none of us really wanted the Switch. There's not enough games for it. No, sure, a lot of people bought the Switch and they're having fun with it. That's fine. There is a decent library of games now. But there's also the topic of replacement. If a 3DS drops and breaks, that's rough. If a Switch drops and breaks, that's like $300 you're out. And that's not, let's say you take a 3DS out on, a bus and someone steals it. Well, granted, you're on a bus, you can just kind of like, hey, that guy stole my shit, and then, fight him or whatever, get your shit back. A 3DS is a $300 piece of equipment that can be resold for about $250, or maybe even $150, if the person who was stolen doesn't really care about, profits. So supposing the person just steals your Switch, what now? I know it's not really right to use, like, oh, what if an outside event causes you to lose it? But it's a very fair, assessment. Say your 3DS just dies, the battery explodes, the screen breaks, whatever, and you can't, you don't want to replace your $160 machine. What if, there's options is what I'm saying. You can buy a 2DS, they're ugly, but they're usable, you have options. What are your options for a cheaper Switch? You don't really have one outside of buying one used, and that includes all the risks of buying a used console. Maybe the screen is messed up, maybe the Joy-Cons are messed up, and that's something else, is the Joy-Cons themselves are so fucking expensive. Like, even the Wii, I believe even when they came out, the controllers weren't more than like $20. 25, maybe 30. A Switch Game-Con is like, or Joy-Con's like $60, I think. Yeah, Joy-Cons are like $80 for a usable pair. So, that's fucking expensive. Why is everyone like, oh, Nintendo's so great? Nintendo is gouging you. There's a reason I didn't move, to 3DS until recently. It's because the prices were incredibly high. And also I didn't have a job, I didn't have the extra money. But even if you have the extra job and the extra money, are you going to be buying a Switch? I don't think so. It's better marketed than the Wii. It's Wii U, I mean. It's an actual arguable success. And it does something interesting, you know. It's truly a hybrid system. If they want Pokemon in every home like they have been, they need to drop the price of the Switch a lot. So they need to drop that shit down to like $200 and include the game. Because other than that, I can't imagine a lot of adults going out for their kids and being like, I'm gonna buy little Timmy, you know, a $300 console and hope his siblings don't mind that I drop $300 on him and not them. It's expensive. I mean, sure, you can stagger it out by every kid a Switch, you know, months apart, but that's still, let's say you have 2 kids, that's still $600. That's like a month's rent for me. You know, that's a lot of money to just drop on a game console for your kid. And then, like I said, what if that console breaks? That's another $300 to replace it. Or, you know, maybe you're lucky and Nintendo will actually repair it. I've never had good luck with Nintendo repairs. But maybe, I think Pokemon on the Switch is going to fail. I think it's going to fizzle. And I think Game Freak is going to bring it right back to whatever handheld Nintendo has. Or maybe, worse, move it over to phones. And that's when we're going to see Pokemon probably die for good. Is if the core series games go full-on free-to-play. Which a lot of phone games do. And microtransactions. Can you imagine you're going down Route 1 and it says, oh, you've reached your daily allotment of Pokemon you can run into for today. You gotta shell out some money so you can buy some Pokemon lures. I think Pokemon is gonna end at the 8th generation. And I think Nintendo's gonna have killed one of the biggest franchises in human history by idiocy and not planning ahead. This is Big Baby Blue Eyes signing out. Let me know in the comments if you have a Switch already or are planning to get one specifically for Pokemon.